Hello and welcome to the Happy, Healthy, Strong podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to helping you live a happier, healthier, and stronger life. Building a life that you love starts with you owning your health and intentionally creating the best version of yourself. So if you're looking to better understand how proper nutrition, daily movement, mindset work, and strength training can help you create a life full of happiness and health, then you are in the right place. I generally hope that the tips, tricks, and information that we share will be the catalyst for change. I'm your host, Adam Lane. It's time to dive in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Happy, Healthy, Strong podcast. I'm your host, Adam Lane. With me today from beautiful Tracy, California, Mr. Chris Williams. Chris, thanks for joining the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Chris, this is your big deal. You have people watching your social all over the place. You have your own little videographer girl documenting so many fantastic things. You own Ultimate Performance Lab. You live the dream. For the tens of people that listen to the show who might not know who you are and why you're such a big deal, tell these people who you are and why you're such a big deal.
That's going to be hard to live up to. I think I have tens of people that follow me. So, am I a big deal? Probably not in the scheme of things. I just decided that I wanted to share my story and share what I do. I want to share other people's stories. So I started a podcast to help with that called The Balanced CEO. Travel the country a handful of times a year to meet with other gym owners and mastermind situations, some of the best gym owners in the world through Two Brain Business. I do have a videographer girl, as you aptly put it. She's amazing. Her name's Gabby. She travels with me and helps me put on the podcast and does a lot of my personal content and my reels and things like that I want to push certain thoughts or things along. I also have a 5-minute motivational podcast that I put out every Monday called The Morning Dig. That's actually how my media got started. Really, was The Morning Dig became my passion project, and just an opportunity to share a thought or an idea or an experience that I had in the last week or two that I feel like is important to share.
Chris, you own two different gyms. Ultimate Performance Labs is the youth sports training, and then remind me the CrossFit gym.
CFT Fitness.
CFT Fitness.
Tracy. Yep.
And you've had this for how long?
CrossFit Tracy has been open. CFT Fitness, it's been open, I think we're at 15 years. I bought it 8 years ago, so a little over 8 years ago. And then Ultimate Performance Lab, I started from scratch in 2008. September 2018 is when we opened.
Okay. There we go. So you're in deep at this point.
Yeah, very.
So, but the reason I want to have you on the show is that, this happy, healthy, strong podcast, we really like to talk to people. I love hearing people's stories. Everybody's got a different story. Some of them are, they don't need to be made into a Hallmark movie or anything like that. But like, it's just like, we're all living this life. For everybody that we talk to, all the consultations that we do, because this podcast room also doubles as our consultational room. We hear the same thing over and over, that people are way too busy. They're way too stressed out. They're overwhelmed at times. And when you have those things, it's hard to keep track of your own health and fitness and nutrition. And it's easy for, the train to fall off the tracks, and it's easy for it to never recover and get back on the tracks. You've made some pretty amazing physical changes, for a guy who owns a gym. I could totally relate too. I thought I was going to start a gym 12 years ago. I'd be the fittest man alive at this point. 12 years in. No, not the case. Not if you want a successful gym, because you're waking up early and you're staying up late and you're stressing out over things and you're doing your best to appease people, but you can't make everybody happy, and you got all these plates spinning, and then, your wife gets mad at you because you're spending too much time at the gym stuff and and then, kids, family thing, boom. Talk about, let's start with your accomplishments here, because you've dropped some weight pretty impressively, if I recall. And then I'm curious to know what you did to, obviously you're a fitness professional. What'd you do and how'd you do it?
So I've lost weight countless times. I've just always put it back on, probably since I was about 20 years old. Gained and lost 50 pounds 4 or 5 times in that 20-year period. I'm 40 now. So, it's not that I did anything special. I think one of the things was I got in the right room. I got in a room full of gym owners that were the top 1% of gym owners in the world, in my opinion. And I realized that there was really no difference between me and them other than they put their own health and their own happiness ahead of everything else. Where I think for most of us, we get sucked into that whole thing of we've got to make our clients happy, we've got to make our staff happy, we've got to make everybody else happy, we got to make everybody else content. We can come last. Our family comes before it, everybody comes before it. What I've realized if you look at it as a pyramid, your health and fitness needs to come first, your family second, then your business. So for me, it was just kind of that wake up call that the only difference between me and them was they put themselves first. Now, that doesn't mean that they ignored their business. They just put my workout is not going to get interrupted, even if that means I'm getting up at 5 a.m. to get it done because I'm prioritizing myself. Or if I got to miss an hour of family time, or if I got to skip a meeting, like my health is going to get, that box is going to get checked. The diet is going to get checked. Right. And it's just a consistency game. And, yeah, do they at their success level have more time? But these guys were doing that in the beginning. That's what made them successful is they always had the energy to do the little things that most of us are too tired to do. In, you know, in a sense, yeah, it seems really easy on paper, but it takes practice, right? I didn't do it all at once. I got on a run in June of 2022 after being in a room full of people that I'd always looked up to and realized I wanted to be like them. And over that next 10 months, I didn't really have any restrictions or issues or medical issues or anything holding me back. So I lost 80 pounds in 10 months. Eating more of like a protein leveraged, some people call it carnivore, some people call it meat based. I eat more on a meat based level because it's just stuff I think one of the things people realize is you got to find the healthy food you like. And I don't mean frozen dinners healthy. I mean like whole foods, responsibly sourced. What do you like? I think there's a reason vegetarians exist is because they love vegetables. Like that's just what they love. So it's really easy for them to eat that way. I love red meat. So it's really easy for me to eat a high sourced red meat diet, not because I think it's going to save the world or like I'm going to become superhuman or any of the other extremities that come from any of these diets, honestly. Uh, I just realized it's something I could consistently eat every day and not get tired of. So I'm like, why don't I just eat that way? Meat, cheese, raw dairy if I want it. I mean, I'll eat normal cheese, but like milk, I haven't really been able to keep down forever. I found raw milk I can keep down if I want it. I'll drink it a lot. Um, and I just stuck to that. It was a lot of ground beef, it was a lot of steak, it was a lot of cheese and eggs. And like that was the consistency of my diet and hot sauce. I will never give up hot sauce. I don't care who I offend in the carnivore world, deal with it. I will literally smother my food in hot sauce till I die.
So things to pull out of that. And work backwards here. I think it's interesting. So we have our nutrition expert on the podcast, Kristen Boldock, who's a food therapist, does a fantastic job of bringing. She leans exactly like you were saying. She leans more to that vegetarian vegan side of things, and that's because it tastes really good to her. She really likes it. She doesn't. She'll make these insanely healthy organic vegan treats, if you will. And to the average person, it doesn't taste like a brownie, but it's a brownie, and she's sort of, and it tastes great to her. It works for her. And she doesn't demonize any type of like, oh, carnivore bad. This, da, da, da. It works for you. It's working for you. It's you're looking good. You're feeling good. You're getting the results, that you're looking for. Which is what it's all about. So I don't want to get people get sucked into like, oh my gosh, this, he cut out all this stuff out of it. No, it doesn't feel like it's sacrificing for you because you like it.
Yeah. Did I miss toast with butter forever? Did I miss burritos and all this stuff? Of course I did. But I realized, I'd go like 60 days and then I'd enjoy a weekend. Right. So it wasn't like I gave it up forever. I wasn't battling any autoimmune diseases or anything that like, carnivore is known to help heal. I didn't have any issues that needed to be healed. I just wanted to lose weight and I wanted to do it in a way I felt like I could do consistently. So fasting and red meat as a primary source of fuel. Never felt like my workout sucked. Never felt like I was losing energy or steam. Never felt like I was losing muscle mass. I always made sure I was eating enough, right? I think no matter what, like people get in this weird thing of like, I got to eat, I got to undereat substantially. Didn't do that. I was eating like 2,400 calories a day, which at times got really tough when you're eating whole foods. It actually can be really tough to fill your stomach with that much food. So
Pull that apart right there. When you're eating whole foods, that is a lot of food. And I think we get in trouble because it's so easy. My vice, and I don't know why this is, and I think it probably started at a very young age when I'm reading Flex magazine and going to the gas station and be like, there's that protein bar there. There's that metrics bar that looks like a doorstop. You know, that must be good for me because look at all the protein that's packed in there. I think I developed a palate for protein bars at a very young age, not realizing that they're basically just a candy bar with protein in them, and that's why they taste so damn good. And that ends up being my vice. If I'm at the gym too long, if I eat lunch when I eat lunch, and then I'm here till 9:30 at night, it's so easy for me to wander on over and grab myself a bear bell, or maybe two bear bells because I'm extra hungry, and that's Adam's dinner until he gets home, and that it gosh, that stuff messes me up. And again, that processed stuff, and I don't care if it's healthy processed, it's still processed and still not great. Is it better than Cheetos? Probably not much though. Um, it has a little hidden protein in it, yay raw. But um, I think that whole food thing is such a big friggin' deal for people. And again, I don't care if you want to go the vegan route, if you want to go the carnivore route, if you want to go some paleo route, in between. Obviously, what you're doing again is working and successful, and you're feeling good, and hot dog.
I'm not opposed to eating vegetables. There's just a lot of them that upset my stomach, so I don't eat a lot of them. There's only a handful that don't really make me feel like crap, and that's like bell peppers and a couple other things like jalapenos, bell peppers, and a couple other things that don't really screw with me. Other than that, it's like I just don't see the benefit for me because when I do all my blood tests, like all my numbers are normal. I'm getting in all the micronutrients and all that. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think that's a big thing, and I hate and you see this too with marketing things, and there's 1,000 different things that work for 1,000 different people, and everybody's a little bit different, and yada yada yada. I compare if you were to and correct me if I'm wrong here. Again, business owner, you're doing lots of things, um, and I don't really consider it. And obviously, we're cut from the same cloth here, very very similar. But I I don't think it's that much different than I'll say my wife, who's a seventh grade science teacher, who has stress out of her mind caused by children who aren't hers, um, and administration, and people have bosses and stuff like that. And it's so easy. I don't care if you're running a gym or managing a seventh grade classroom, or you're an accountant or this or that nurse. Da, 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 da. You have the stress, and it's so easy to not prioritize yourself within this whole thing. Oh, I'll just do a little bit more work just to make my boss happy. Oh, I'll send these few more emails to make these parents of my students happy. Da, da, da. It's so easy to not. Is there anything that you did specifically that that helped you prioritize you first? Because that's such a hard thing for people to do, and it sounds easy. Well, da, da, da. But I think that, like, I think that's really, really insanely hard for some people.
yeah, I mean, I spent the first year getting up at 4 a.m. every day. And before anybody got up, before my phone started ringing, before emails started flying in, I spent 30 to 45 minutes on the treadmill getting in fasted cardio. Then I would allow myself my coffee. And it would be straight in the office to get a big project on Chris Cooper, who's going to be on the Balance CEO podcast. I recently interviewed. He's got a book coming out next week called The Golden Hour. And it's something that he taught us in June of 2022. You can call it that back then. It was called the Pareto Plan. You can look that up online. But essentially, you get this really important thing done first. It's the first thing in the morning. It's like an hour of your day, and you get this thing done that's going to it's going to drive it forward and hit your like main goal. And for me, it was writing content for the gym, blogs and emails and all that stuff. And so I would get this cardio done, get my coffee, my brain's firing on high, hit this creative work. By 6 o'clock, my son's awake. I could spend family time with him, not even worry about anything, no guilt, because I just got this golden hour done. and I got my cardio done. So when he would leave for daycare or preschool or kindergarten, where during those years, I would go in the gym and hit my workout. So by like 9 a.m., I've done everything for myself that I need to do, and I've done something major for the gym. So from 9 on, it doesn't matter what comes at me the rest of the day. I got me in,
Yeah.
right? So it's like I got no worries.
Yeah. Dude, that's
Just
fantastic.
rolling around life like Pumbaa.
Here, so I want to dissect something there. So we started. You still are across the gym. We stopped our affiliation 4 years back. Um, we've kind of pivoted away from some of the CrossFit methodology. Some of it I absolutely love, and I think it's great. Um, some of it, as we get older, I'm less of a fan. You mentioned walking on a treadmill as your cardio. I agree with that statement. I think that confuses some people. They're like, "You're not running on a treadmill. You're not running your 3 miles. You're not. What's going on? How is that cardio?" Um, and then you're getting your workout in separately. Do you want to talk? I guess I'm curious from the workout standpoint, what you did that was effective for keeping your muscle mass and losing the weight that you did.
So for me, it came down to being the weight that I was, 350 pounds at the time. You know, I could get into zone two at a slight incline on a treadmill, right? So obviously that has changed in 2.5 years. Now, if I really want to get into zone two, I got to jack that thing up. I got to throw a backpack on, or I got to run. So zone two is a different animal now. But even then, steady state cardio, which is what zone one is considered, it's considered a mental primer. So what I was doing in that 30 to 45 minutes was mentally priming myself for creative work. Again, I'm going to go back to the Coop interview. Coop talks about how he does manual labor to get into his mental priming. So when he's got big project on his mind, he ordered 2 truckloads of gravel, and then he just raked gravel on his driveway for an hour. That keeps him in zone one, fires his brain up, and then he goes and gets right to work on this really important project, and he does his golden hour. Right? So it's like everybody's got that mental primer. For me, taking my mind bullet, chugging a glass of water, straight into the cardio, 30 to 45 minutes. I'm awake, I'm primed, creative time. Right? And then to go back to your lifting part, I split the lifts because I didn't want to sacrifice time with my son. I didn't want to have to pick between the golden hour and when my son would wake up. So by 6 o'clock, I've gotten golden hour, I've got the cardio done. I can fully focus on him, knowing that as soon as he goes to preschool or daycare, my hour and a half workout is getting hit. And then I'm free to move about the cabinet and take on whatever comes my way the rest of the day.
There we go. Are you doing this every day?
I did that for a year straight. And then I kind of started manipulating my schedule because my son was getting older and waking up at varying hours. And it just made more sense for me to get my cardio in at some point during the day, especially because I started taking on running. So running became a workout. And so now I only lift about 3 days a week, and I run 2 to 3 days a week as I've trained for a half marathon and some other stuff. So my schedule has changed, but the priorities have not. Before I go into the office, that workout will get done. I'm not going to do my workout later in the day. I'm not going to prioritize unless something crazy happens, or I've got an important meeting or a podcast or something's got to get done earlier in the morning. My workout is going to be the first thing I do before I ever step foot in the office.
Gotcha. Now, when you say your workout, do you mean the lifting, the cardio, or either?
Whatever is scheduled for that day.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. You working out at home, lifting at home?
Yeah,
or
I built out a massive garage, like a dream garage gym, because when I'm here, I can't think about lifting. I think about work. I think about what needs to be fixed. I think about who I need to talk to. I think about what projects need to get done. And so I can't use working out as an outlet if I'm here. Occasionally I'll lift here because I need to, because that's what the schedule dictates. But I prefer working out in my garage because then it's an outlet. It's somewhere I can go and I can turn everything off and I can jack the music up and I can let out any steam I have. And then I can fully focus on anything people need from me.
Nicely done. I think it's hilarious that, and dude, I can totally relate. A gym owner, multiple gym owner, has his garage gym because it's got to be convenient and stuff like that and whatnot. I do find it interesting, through the years, and I don't know if you see the same. with all the members that we've had through the years, our morning members have always been more consistent than our evening members because in the evening, stuff comes up, life happens. Um, who knows what? But in the morning, it is always there. It's
It's a
consistent, and
lifestyle.
it's a lifestyle. Absolutely. How early are you going to bed when you're waking up at 4?
When I was waking up at 4, the goal was to be in bed by 9. But I mean, it was life, man. I think I was averaging 5 hours of sleep a night. So that wasn't going to last forever. I realized when I got hit with GBS, Guillain-Barré syndrome, back in December of last year. I was in the process of working back to that 4 a.m. schedule, but then they found I got GBS, and then they found cancer on my kidney. So I was like, I need sleep. I can't. So now my schedule is set at 6 a.m. 6 a.m. works really well for me. Keeps me in a homeostasis. I'm never dragging ass, but it does force me to sacrifice, that early morning golden hour. My golden hour is now like 8 a.m. As soon as my son leaves, I get my golden hour in. I get my car. Like if I have steady state cardio, I'll do that. Now I can get it in anytime. I have the flexibility in my schedule. I have the right staff to where I don't have to get all this in and get to the office. I can get to the office when I get to the office. So
Sorry, rewind there really quick. The GB.
GBS, Guillain-Barré syndrome. It's a nervous system issue that essentially, like, you can have like a chest or a stomach virus or infection, and antibodies are grown to beat it. Well, the antibodies overstay their welcome and attack your nervous system, and you essentially lose all function, like tingling throughout your body, like there's like TV static in your body, like no motor function. Was basically unable to walk by day 4 or 5. But they put what they call immunoglobulin back in you in an IV form over like a 4 or 5 day period. And I went from not being able to walk to walking with a walker day 1, walking much longer day 2, walking with no walker a little bit day 3, no walker pretty well day 4. And by day 5, I was able to walk for 30 minutes without stopping. So it was kind of a crazy roller coaster of scans and everything else for them to basically break it down to this is what it is. But when I went to Stanford to get cleared by a Stanford doctor, he said he actually classified it as Miller-Fisher syndrome, which is an even more rare version. Only about 20,000 people get any type of GBS a year. Mine was even more rare. It's like 1% of that. A
Holy
couple
cow.
hundred people.
So how are you good? Is it
Yeah, no, the
oh,
GBS is gone. Yeah, no,
okay,
it's
it's
done.
gone. Holy cow, man.
Yeah,
When
it's
was
like
that?
they put good antibodies back in your body that fucks those antibodies up, and
Yeah.
then it goes away.
Holy cow. So when was that? How long ago was that?
December of last year.
Holy cow. Yeah, that'll put a little bump in your jeez. Holy cow. And now we're back to normal. Lifting good, feeling good, training for a marathon, half marathon.
Trained for a half marathon for like at least 6 weeks now.
Okay. When's the half marathon?
It was the one I was supposed to do this year, but GBS kind of railroaded that, so um, bumped it to this year.
What's the race? Where is it at?
San Francisco. It's a San Francisco half marathon. You run along the Golden Gate Bridge and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Okay. Is it some
They say it's a net downhill because it's flat, and then there's a bunch of very small downhill. So they're like, it's technically a net downhill race. I'm like,
you'll be fast.
comparatively to going uphill, yeah. Comparatively to what people would classify as fast now. Still very, very slow.
Yeah. But we're getting it done. Why the half marathon?
I've always found running to kind of be a freedom thing, especially when I was super obese and inactive. Running's kind of a freedom thing for me. And I've done 10Ks a couple times over the last couple years. I've done other stuff, and I'm like, it's just the logical next step is a half. Because there's a lot of cool races around the world that are halves. So once I know I can do that, like I could do races in a lot of cool places. Um, the logical question from there is, are you going to do a full marathon? And right now the answer is no. Half seems to be like a good distance for me. It opens up a lot of doors for me in terms of, you know, overall capacity.
I did one marathon back in 1999, and I got the T-shirt. It was good. Um, I don't know. It is what it is. I have no motivation to do another one. It was fine. It was good. I like halves. Halves are a nicer distance. That 2 hour mark. I don't know, 1:30 to 2:30 hour. That it's a nice time. What Well, dude, this is awesome. This is fantastic. I think it's was there any major? I always like to see the aha moment in people, and maybe you already said this. You know, you're sitting down with the tinker group of this two brain business, and you're seeing you know guys like Brian Stump and healthy guys that take care of themselves and that own gyms, and you're like, well, how do you? I'm working my ass off right now, and I'm killing myself. I'm stressing myself out. I'm working so hard, and this is I don't know. I have this inbred into me too, just to I'm going to work my tail off. I'm going to work harder than everyone else in which to win this game. Um, even if I have to sacrifice my own health, I will absolutely do it. Da, 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 da. Was there anything specific that tripped that switch for you, or was it just hanging out with those guys, being like, "Gosh, I'm jealous of what you guys have going for you." Whether it just be like how you look, or just the health behind it.
I always knew that I wanted to get fit and healthy. I had attempted it multiple times before. I think being in that room planted the seed. And it was about a month later that I finally started taking action. And it was actually, we went up to our cabin up near Yosemite for 4th of July. And I basically didn't eat anything out of control. I didn't really do anything. And I was like, man, I'm feeling pretty good. I didn't really drink. I didn't really do any of the stuff I normally do. I think it's time to just take this momentum and roll right into going at it 100%. It's time. It's time to take action. It's time to stop fucking around. It's time to take the seed that was planted that I had watered for a month in my brain of like what I wanted to do and just go all out. No excuses. And I kind of set a date. It was like 55, 60 days away. My staff, one of my closest staff members was getting married up in Lake Tahoe. And I was like, I want to look way better for that. I'm going to lose as much weight as I can. Then I'm going to enjoy that weekend. Then I'm going to come right back to it. And I set another timeline for, I think, um, like going to Disneyland like a month and a half later. And then I was like, and then I'm going to enjoy that. And then I'm going to set a break and then I'm going to set another timer until we go to Hawaii. I think, no, we went to Costa Rica. So I set a timer to go to Costa Rica and then I set a timer to go to Hawaii. And so Costa Rica was another wedding. So it was, one of those things where we just had all this stuff going on that like anchored me to wanting to look as good as I could. And you take that seed planted from being around all those guys, knowing you're going to see them again in September. And I was like, I want to make it an impact. I want to look different. I want them to look at me and go, wow, he really took something from this and ran with it.
What's your recommendation? I'm trying to think if the average person is listening to the show. Um, they're probably a parent. They're probably busy. They're probably more stressed than they want to be. Um, they might have the flexibility to get up early and work that golden hour thing the way you're talking. Maybe they don't. Like that's I'm thinking me personally. Um, my wife and I wake up at 6 basically every day. um, and then she's got to get ready for school. We have the kids getting up. Blah 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 blah. I don't think if I did do any golden hour thing, I'd have to be done before 6 o'clock. But if I wake up, if there's an alarm or something like that, I know I'm going to mess with her sleep, and then she's going to hate me, and blah 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 blah. She needs as much sleep as she can possibly get. For people that might not have that like golden hour, you know, time, I guess what's step one for people? Like if they're just the average human, the average American right now that's stressed out, overworked, underappreciated, and they find way too much comfort in social media, and they just need, hey, I need step one here. I need the first domino to fall before all these other dominoes fall. What's your recommendation for step one?
It starts with picking something you can do consistently every day really easily without a fight. For me, it was 10-minute walks. It was 10 minutes a day. Then week 2 was 10 minutes twice a day. Then week 3 was 10 minutes 3 times a day. Then week 4, it was 30 minutes of just walking all in a row. And it just built from there. And then we added in weightlifting. And so it was a process. But for those of you that might say, oh, my kids have practice, I don't have time. What are you doing the whole time they're practicing? Because I know you're not sitting there watching. You're either over in the corner gossiping, you're on your phone looking at social media. Why can't you go for a walk? Oh, because Johnny doesn't want me to leave. Okay, why can't you do push-ups and sit-ups? Oh, because someone thinks I'm going to look weird. Who cares? Right? I mean, I'd rather look weird to people getting my fitness in than I would being obese and looking weird because it looks like I don't give a shit about myself. And that was the final thing that like snapped the straw, right? So when my kid has baseball practice, I'll bring a sandbag. If I haven't gotten a workout in, I'll bring a sandbag and I will do a sandbag workout off in the corner where he can still see me. And you go, Dad, watch this. And I'll stop and okay, good job. And then right back to my sandbag workout. Because there's multiple things you don't factor in when that happens. A, you don't factor in how much your kid is paying attention to the importance of fitness and suddenly wants to do it with you. You don't pay attention to the fact that now my kid goes, Dad, I got to get my workout in today. And it might only be 5 minutes in the garage. He's 6 years old, but he understands the importance of it at 6 years old. We're not only influencing ourselves, we're influencing the next generation. You're influencing your kids to avoid the problems that you currently are living. And a lot of us can look back at our parents who put all their time into work. They didn't put any time into themselves. And that was what we were raised to believe. So if that's what you believe, understand that's what you're teaching your kids. And if that's what you want your kids to believe, and that's the mindset you want your kids to have, awesome, keep doing what you're doing. But if you think for 1 second you want your kids to not be overweight, not stress about fitness, make it a part of their lifestyle from a young age, and truly care about their health and live a long life, it starts with you setting the path and shedding yourself of these excuses.
Chris, that was the best 3 minutes of the whole show right there. That was absolute gold. I will, like a crazy person, like you mentioned, person with sandbags. I have my rucksack and a sandbag in the back of my car, and so depending the day, drop. So my kids are 11 and 9, or I'm sorry, 12 and 9. So a little past the. I kind of don't want to be that guy at the 7th grade football practice, like looking like, oh my, coach, play my kid, make sure he,
Coaches, I'm fitnessing or I'm working. I'm doing something important. I'm not sitting there trying to lord over a guy who is volunteering their time to help my child get better.
Yes, 100%. And then having whatever other parents and things like that, and just kind of I can't tell you how many times I've gotten to his practice, and a lot of times whatever I'll go for a ruck. I'll throw on my rucksack and I'll go. Or hey, I have my 50-pound just whatever sandbag with a handle. I'll just walk the track, and carry it in all sorts of different ways. Shoulder, side, front carry, whatever. We'll go to games and we'll be there early before games because like he has to be there an hour before the game. Well, it's an away game. Well, I'm driving him there. Like it's not a big school, it's kind of a private entity, so we have to drive there. Well, what am I going to do an hour before? I'm not going to just sit in the stands watching them warm up. Oh, sweet God, is that boring? So like the other day, my parents came with us. Okay. So I took them out for a walk. 2 75-year-olds, like, hey, we're not going to sit here for an hour, Mom and Dad. Okay. We're going to go walk. And we walked extremely slowly. For roughly an hour. I entertained them for about an hour, as we're walking around, just enough to get, before the game started. And I think it's so, you can do it. And it's not that, I don't want to say it's that hard. It's not that hard. But instead of getting out your lawn chair and just, plopping down and just sitting there with your phone, entertaining yourself, like it's so easy to insert extra movement into what you're doing and make this whole process easier. You made me feel better that I'm not the only crazy person.
Yeah. You have to decide what you want and how bad you want it. Right? Because if you want it bad enough, there's no excuse or public image in the world that's going to stop you from doing what you need. But it doesn't mean it has to be really hard from the beginning. It should just be 10 minutes. 10 minutes of walking. 10 minutes walking with a weighted backpack. Right? It doesn't have to be difficult. Don't overthink it.
Well, and how often, I don't know if you've seen this, I've seen this 1,000 times. You've seen this 1,000 times. People start off too hot, too crazy, too insane, and they burn out within a week or two or a month.
I can't keep up with this. I don't know how people do it. Well, for first, they didn't start that way. They built up to that capacity over a long period of time. Right? Two, they went on and got a coach that didn't allow them to get that crazy and out of control. And also held them to a standard of you're going to show up this many days a week because you're paying me to be here.
Fantastic. Chris, what did we miss? What do you wish I would have asked you that I didn't ask you?
Man, I think that's like, if we're talking about health and happiness, like that's it. It starts with your health. If you're unhappy, it's probably because your health sucks. You can't say yes to going and doing all the things with your kids. You can't say yes to going out and doing all the fun things with your fit friends. You can't say yes to getting up on a Saturday morning and going and doing something, going hiking and going outdoors and doing all this stuff. You're missing out on a lot of parts of life. So you want to be healthy and happy. It starts with being healthy. And it starts with doing little things and stacking those habits up one by one until you're there. And if you don't know where to start, hire a coach. And if you think it's too much money, it's probably just right, because there's nothing more valuable than your health.
And it's amazing how quickly it can catch up with you too.
Yep.
Chris, I really appreciate your time, man. I think you nailed all the things. I hope people really, I mean, you're doing it. Like, you're living proof of all things going on. Yeah. And that balance. Again, it's not like you don't have stress in your life. You have a lot of stress in your life. It's not like you don't have family and fatherly obligations. You do. It's not like you're not trying to run your own business and keep people happy, healthy, and strong, because you are. Like, you have all the things, and you're balancing your own health at the same time. And it's not like you've been doing this forever and for always. You learned it the hard way and turned that switch, but not 100 miles an hour right away. You little bit by little bit by little bit, and now here we are. Yeah, dude, I love it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me.
People want to find you and continue to follow all the stuff that you're doing. This might be the longest part of the process, Chris. This is where you have to list all the places where people can find you on the social. Where do they go?
You can find me on Instagram, Lock34, LOCK34. You can find me on YouTube. That's where my podcast resides, as well as a lot of other content that I put out. That's the Balance CEO. So at Balance CEO. And lastly, you can find me on LinkedIn. I don't know what the tag is for that one, but hopefully you can find me. Let's see if there's anywhere else. No, that's the main one: Spotify, iTunes, the Morning Dig, and the Balance CEO. When it launches in the next few weeks, we'll be on there. Morning Dig is on Spotify and iTunes now. Please go subscribe, help a brother out.
Yeah, dude, I subscribe to the show. It's fun how just, again, the short, little, quick. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Get you fired up on a Monday morning to get your
week started. It does. You bring some passion. There you go. Awesome, Chris. Thank you so much, buddy. I totally appreciate it. Listeners, thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one. That's all we have for you today. If you have any questions or want to chat or interested in seeing what we're up to in between episodes, head over to Instagram and Facebook and follow @OakStrength. Also check us out at oakstrength.com. If you like this episode, please share it with someone who wants to live happy, healthy, and strong. If you really liked it, subscribe and review the Happy, Healthy, Strong podcast on iTunes or Spotify. Be sure to tune back in next week, and remember to keep owning your health.